Do you just want to continue? Okay.
So I think I'll just continue with that. Thanks a lot, Sarah, for all these comments. I'm Günter Ziegler, as was mentioned, president of Freie Universität in the moment, and this shifting from science to university leadership, of course, also changes your perspectives and changes your feeling of responsibility also for a community and for a large community, and that's the perspective. I will just follow up on Hera's remarks with trying to describe very briefly sort of the principles that we have set out in order to proceed with these deal negotiations. I'm very happy to just say that the contract that we signed this morning with Wiley covers all these ideas and conditions and concepts, and so we've really got agreement on that. Hera just said that we are looking forward to working with Wiley in the coming years to develop this further and so on. Perhaps I should add that we are also looking forward to talking to and negotiating and working with Springer Nature and Elsevier and others under the same principles. The idea of these deal type contracts would be that they should fit not for a single publisher but also for others. The idea always also was that this is something that should not only work for Germany but also in any other country. It should be scalable and it should be fair. I don't think I have to say much about the situation at which we are in these times with academic publishing, so I will not say anything about the costs exploding and the library budgets stalling. I will not say anything about the researchers doing the work based on taxpayers' money and their salaries and their equipment, doing the work, meaning doing the research, doing the writing, doing the typesetting, at least in many fields. So I will not say anything about the huge costs for access, which are embedded in the subscription model and which in the end do not seem to be right. So I will in particular not say anything about open access as a principle, because this has been said and is known to everybody. Perhaps two background facts to just be mentioned is that I was one of the first signers of the Elsevier boycott in 2012, and I think if you read the paper from the Cost of Knowledge movement at that time, that all these things are still valid. I also will not say anything but mention the keyword of piracy, which is a problem, I think, more for the publishers than for the scientists, but it is also a problem to morals, and it is a problem that will plainly disappear when we have open access. So it's so beautiful to see that problems can be solved. My observation is that there's always new developments and things, and also crazy developments and things where one sees that things are going in the wrong direction. I just saw a statement from a mathematician in Bonn who I met in the 1980s at MIT when I was a student there, so I've known him for a long time, and who complained for a paper that he just published with a major publisher, namely Elsevier, where in the end it turns out for him to get access to the final published version of his own paper, he either has to pay for printed off-prints, 50 of them would cost 324 euro, or of course he could get electronic access to the paper for I think 35 or 36 euro. So there's no free access to the published paper to the author himself, which is quite remarkable. In his words, Elsevier not only milks the scientific libraries, it now tries to milk authors as well. I think we will get beyond that. And as I said, we want to work towards doing the transformation and doing transformative agreements which really change the setting. the idea of a deal contract as developed in the deal negotiation group with talking a lot, comparing what's going on and also seeing what's happening in other countries and so on, was that we got the order, or the orders don't work the same way in Germany that they do in China. So the Alliance of the Science Organizations asked the German Rectors Conference with their then head Horst Hippler to negotiate national contracts for access to the electronic journals of the three largest publishers, namely Elsevier, Wiley, and Springer Nature. If you look at Germany, this means we are talking about a bit less, I think, than 700 libraries who up to now had something like 400 separate and secret contracts with these publishers. So there were sort of 5 principles. The first one was we wanted to have 1 contract each per publisher, which would collect and be valid for the whole country, in this case Germany. The second thing might sound like a tautology, but it's the key. It means we pay the publishers for publishing, right? Which means in particular that we're not willing to pay the publishers for letting read, which is a different thing. The third part was that we pay for the publishing, which means that we pay for the German share in open access publishing, which in the end, if you ask what's the German part of the market and what do we have to pay, you just measure that by looking at the papers which have a German corresponding author, which means every paper in the end is paid for once, and we pay for the publishing, and paying for the publishing means for the open access publishing, means for the immediate open access publishing, usually in a CC BY license. And the model should be that we have a fixed fee for every such publication with that particular publisher. You could argue that, of course, different journals, different fields, different things should be different levels of expensive, but that just means that we have to take a suitable average and agree on that average fee. The fourth point is that there should be, in this case then for Germany, no reading access no reading access obstruction. There should be full access to the full portfolio of that publisher from German researchers, meaning researchers at the institutes and universities and organizations who participate in the deal. And the fifth principle also seemed important to us, which is that the contract as such should be transparent and public. And we've been negotiating about that for a number of years now. We started the negotiations with Elsevier and later then also with Wiley and Springer Nature. And I'm as happy as many others here that this was concluded with signing the contract with Wiley this morning. The negotiations with Springer Nature are ongoing, and with Elsevier will restart whenever they are ready. I can say that all these principles are met in the contract, and I think I don't have to recount them. The contract as such will be published in a few weeks, mid-February, on the Deal Project website, so it will be accessible. And I think this is a big step for open access. It's a big step for science, certainly for science in Germany, and of course we hope that others join in with similar models and with the same principles. And I think that's a good start of the year. Let's get going and let's keep going.